In this interview, you're going to hear from one of my clients, Melina, on not only how she got her first deal and walked away with $7,200 in profit in less than 90 days, but also how she's going to be using land flipping to quit her full-time job as a software engineer. This is a super in-depth interview. We talk about how she got started in land, why she transitioned away from doing things like Airbnb and house flipping and stuff like that, and how she did her first deal, the ins and outs of it, and everything you need to know. So make sure you watch the interview the entire way through if you guys are really going to like it. Let's get into it.
Tell everybody like a brief background, like who you are, kind of what you do, just
Sure.
so everyone understands.
Sure. So I'm Latina. I'm from Colombia. I've been in the United States for 25 years.
Awesome.
I went to school to learn programming, so I'm
Okay.
actually a software developer. I do work with a company that is located here in Florida. I'm in Florida, by the way.
Nice.
And so I'm in the software development business.
Okay.
I have two kids. My older
Yeah.
son is 30 years old.
Nice.
But I do have a younger one, and he's 15. He's turning 16 years old. His name is
Okay.
Chase, and Chase is a special needs child, and I am single.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
Now, how do I get here? Was your other question?
Well, I'm kind of curious. Yeah. So like, what were your programming? But like, what were you doing in real estate before this? And then what made you decide, let me try out something new like land?
All right. So obviously, as a as a mother without being by myself,
Yeah.
I started looking into other options. I actually have a friend, and she is in real estate. And one day we went visiting Virginia.
Okay.
First time that I was in the area, Damascus. I've never heard about that before. And we were chatting, we were having a conversation, and out of nowhere, that was the first time that I went to this town, and I came back, and I ended up buying a house that was out there. It was totally destroyed. It was a fixer-upper, but it was totally, totally destroyed. So it was my first time. I was very nervous, but I actually followed her steps, and she
Yeah.
told me how to get the house and how to fix it. I worked on fixing the house. It took me a good 6 or 7 months to actually pretty much rebuild the house. It was my first experience. It was really crazy.
Yeah.
But then I put it. I was able to fix it, and I started an Airbnb with the house.
Yep.
So I was lucky in that matter that I had her instructions, her directions, and that she got me into this, because if it was me, I would have never done that. And then I started thinking, all right, maybe the real estate is the place to go, because I actually realized that I was really good doing this.
Yeah.
I was successful with this one. I'm like, I'm going to try to look for opportunities. And you know how the social media actually reads your mind?
Yes.
For some reason, I started seeing like advertisements about many different multiple options to invest.
Yeah.
I did not have that much money.
Mm-hmm.
I did have some money that I had saved, but I didn't have that much. So I was looking for something that was going to help me to start. Oh, and I also bought a piece of land here in Florida that I am
Yep.
kind of building up. So I
Yeah.
kind of started getting interested in this. So I started looking, into options, and I saw you on Facebook. I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe one of my friends were searching, I don't know how. And with you, actually, there were so many other options, I have to be honest.
Sure.
So I started kind of taking notes and looking at videos, and, that's how I contacted you, and I decided to learn more about what you were doing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of curious. So, because like you had the experience with like the Airbnb stuff, and like you could have said, hey, you know what? I'm only going to do Airbnbs, right? What made you decide, let me do something new? Like, let me start flipping land instead of just continuing to build out your Airbnb portfolio?
All right. So I actually, before I saw your video and I actually was thinking on getting into something else. There was
Yeah.
actually a program that was going to help me to get multiple houses and, go that route. But this is the thing. I live in Florida.
Yeah.
I have my son that I need to dedicate the most of the time to. And that's actually another reason why I'm trying to find other ways for income. I have to be with him. He has certain needs.
Yes.
If I was gonna go that route, I'm lucky because my little property in Virginia, I have people there that, they go and they take a look and they clean and
Yes.
stuff. But if I
Yeah.
was getting to more Airbnbs, it was gonna require me to do a lot of maintenance. Like,
Yeah.
I have this person from Virginia calling me, okay, this broke down, you need to fix the toilet, you need to fix this. People steal things from your house, like, okay, there are no more
Yeah.
spoons, there are no more towels. So you have all this, all the time you have to be paying attention, you have to be spending money on buying all these things. Besides, you have to pay them you have to pay taxes, there's a lot of expense, a lot of things that you need to consider if you're going to get into the Airbnb business. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying that it was not really that I was willing to get into. This other
Okay.
project that was offering me these houses, I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? I mean, I have to maintain these houses. I'm a single mom. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have anybody. I don't think that's the way to go. While when I was learning about your project, I thought like, man, let's be realistic. I don't have to be chasing people. I mean, I don't have to be. Definitely was something that was way much better for me than dealing with maintenance and other things that I don't think I have the time or the energy to be fighting
Yep.
so much.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of people we've talked to, like a lot, like most of our clients, they usually have some real estate experience. There's a lot of people who've done Airbnb or they house flip, and the whole thing, at least what I experienced too, is it's like you want to find an avenue of real estate where it's more passive, right? Where it's actually real estate, right? Where you're focusing on getting deals and not like guests stealing stuff and like towels. It's like that kind of sucks. Like it's a pain in the ass. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's just,
It's
I'm
very
totally
annoying.
annoyed. And it's so frustrating. And because you buy a house, you make it look, you make it nice for the
Yep.
people. People enjoy it, and then when they leave, there's always something. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's a little too much stress.
100%. So you recently completed your first deal, which congrats, by the way. That was a killer deal. You
Yay!
did very good. Tell me
Yeah.
about the deal. Like, what was it? How much you buy it for, sell it for? Give me details.
Yeah. So there was this, and actually, I have to be honest, it made me feel very well
Good.
from different sides. So there was this gentleman. He is in North Carolina, and he
Okay.
was an old guy, and he had this piece of land. Pretty much, he bought it when he was younger, and he wanted to do something with it, and he never had
Yeah.
it. He now has a grandson, so he was so much into his grandson, and he wanted to give his grandson a lot of stuff and give him something, but he didn't have the financial means, so he
Yeah.
decided to sell the land. I just mailed the letters, just follow your directions. Very important, follow the process.
Yes.
Because I was getting like a little anxious, but you need to follow the process. So I mailed my letters. He called me, he reached out. I talked to him. The land, the offer that I made him was $19,000.
Okay.
19 something, 19,400. And so after talking to him and explaining how everything worked, he actually agreed to allow me to help him out. And then when I sold it took actually 90 days.
Yeah.
Well, he gave me 90 days to make the deal,
Yes.
to close the deal.
Yeah.
And after 60 days, I have to tell you, I was very nervous because I
Yeah.
wasn't seeing any response. And I was really nervous that the 90 days were going to pass and I was not going to get it. But like 90, like a 70 days or so, almost the 90 days, I got an actually buyer,
Yes.
and they brought the property for 30. I'm sorry, like 32,000
Okay.
something. Yeah, 32, 33,000.
Nice.
Originally, they were gonna purchase it for 35, but when we
Yep.
got the survey back, it came
Yeah.
out to be like half an acre. So those are things that you deal with.
Yes.
But what is more important is that at the end, I actually made $7,200 out of
Nice.
that deal.
Cool.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
And he was so happy. I mean, I just talked to him yesterday. He's like, "Oh my gosh, thank
That's
you."
awesome.
Yeah. So it makes you feel very well
Yeah.
from both sides. Like, okay, it's my first deal. It worked out. I made $7,200 from
Yep.
out of it, and that's my net. And then he's so excited because he was able to actually get the money to spoil or do whatever with his grandson. So
Yeah.
it's very exciting.
100%. And you bring up a really good point too, is that like I think in a lot of real estate methods, like wholesaling, when you do house flips, stuff like that, a lot of the times the sellers they're in distress, right? So they're selling because they have to, and like something bad is happening. And most of the times with those deals, usually the sellers like they don't profit, they lose money, they break even, right? With land, because we're targeting these people that bought it so long ago, right? They usually make money. And so like you can tell like the seller's happy, like you create win-win deals. That's why they're easier to do. And it does feel good to do a deal where like everyone makes money. Like that's the goal. It's like how can you make money? How can I make money? And how can the end buyer be happy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
So
there is another point. I'm sorry.
no, yeah,
So you can continue. So the good thing about this gentleman is that he was getting a lot of offers that were low. And there was
yes,
actually, we had a last minute situation with somebody that wanted to actually jump in and take the deal out of my hands, but she
yep,
was offering him like $4,000 less.
yeah,
So obviously it's like exactly what you were saying. It's really good to know that you are in a place that you can actually tell him, listen, I can help you more. And so that makes you feel
yep.
definitely, makes you feel because it's not just you making money, it's him getting what he's looking for. So,
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And again, like that's the biggest thing. I know I've talked to you about it a lot. Is it's like we're helping these people. Like you're not selling them something, like you're giving them money. You know, it's like that's a huge benefit. It's like for the average American, if they get $19,000, it's like that's a big, freaking deal, right? Like
right.
it does a lot for them, right? Now, you brought up something really interesting. So you did this on a double close, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, for those people that don't know, essentially it's like wholesaling, right? So we get something under contract, we market it, we find an end buyer, and then we close back to back. We don't use our own money, right? Like you use the person I referred you to, correct? Which is very
Correct.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that way you don't come out of pocket. Now, something that's important is we give ourselves 90 days, right? And you kind of came up with that time frame where it's like 7 days that you don't have a buyer, you're like, oh crap. This is normal though, right? Like it happens. And a lot of people they get this misconception that they're going to put a piece of land on the market and it's like, immediately they get buyers flooding in. Sometimes that does, but usually what you'll see is you get like maybe one offer a month, or maybe it takes 70 days and then you get an offer. But the point is like you kind of have to like hold out, right? And that's what you did. And I believe you also did a price drop too, because didn't you list it a bit
Yeah.
higher at like 40, 45 and you went down?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. I started like at 40 and then at 45 and I started taking the price down. Yeah.
Yes. That's so important, right? Because, and I'm telling you, like if you didn't do that, like you probably would not have gotten it sold in time. Bless you, right? Because,
Sorry.
no, you're good. When people price it, what people make a mistake of is they usually price it too high and then it sits, right? You have to drop to bring those buyers in. And then once you dropped it, that's when you actually started getting offers that are more realistic, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this, because we use direct mail, right? That's how we, do the process. What was your experience like doing direct mail, like talking to the sellers and like, because a lot of people they'll like, do texting or they'll call, which it works, but it's very different. So how did you feel as someone new to this using direct mail to talk to those leads?
Well, first of all, I'm not really, I always thought that I was really bad on sales, and I'm not really
Yeah.
selling right now.
Yes.
But, I'm not the type of person that is easy to go and try to have people, do this type of negotiations.
Yeah.
Sending the mail is really good because when they get the information, I mean, I write my letter and I tell them exactly what I am willing to do for them in my letter.
Yes.
So if they are calling me, it's because they already saw what I was offering. I don't need to
Yep.
call them and start trying to chase people. They get
Yep.
the mail, they read exactly who I am,
Yes.
they have all my contact information, and they do have a real offer. This is, okay, so they know what I'm looking for, what the deal
Yeah.
is. The other process is that you help us to get all these pieces of the puzzle together. So there's the piece that probably I like the most is the filtering of the leads. You know
Yeah.
how they go through this system where they actually there is a person on the phone that talks
Yep.
to them because I work. I haven't stopped working yet, and I have
Yeah.
my phone. But there is this other person that actually gets the phone calls, and they actually do a filtering of the leads. And when
Yep.
the information gets to me, it's already a person that has gone through that screening process that is willing to go to the
Yeah.
next step. So I am not wasting my time with people that are not really, and well, let me tell you something. Maybe some of them might not be really as serious
Sure.
as you think. Maybe some
Yeah.
of them are just calling you to tell you, you're not real, because it's hard to
Yeah,
get people to trust in a letter.
yeah,
But there are really, really not that many. Like I think I got like two people only just that call,
mm,
you know, to defend America because they thought that I was somebody in India
yeah,
selling,
yeah,
trying to buy American land. And I understand that. It's hard. But all the leads, and I'm telling you, all the leads that I got to talk to them. I got the
mm,
opportunity to introduce myself. They actually, it was a conversation. They were willing to sell. And actually, I remember I still have three other ones
yep,
that I'm in the process of. So I think I like the fact that I'm not wasting my time. Like this goes
yeah,
straight to people that have land that they don't use, and
yes,
the calls that I get back is people that are actually really interested in what they saw in the letter. And then they go through this filtering process that the calls that I get are serious calls. I'm not
yeah.
wasting my time. So I think I like it.
Yeah, that's a really, really important point, and like kind of to go off that a bit more. So for everyone listening, there's a call center we use. It's called Pat Live, right? They're like $200 a month roughly, and then you pay like per minute. Usually it's a few $100 a month. They're the ones taking that first call, right? So they filter it out. The biggest reason why we do direct mail like we do, right, where we offer a bit more, we say exactly what we're offering, is because you get a higher quality lead, right? What most people are doing is they'll either send a letter out that has no offer, right? So imagine just getting a postcard in the mail, like, I want to buy your land. That attracts anyone and everyone who wants to sell, right? But the problem with that is the quality is so much lower, right? And then you have to deal with a bunch of like turds, essentially, of people who don't really want to sell, and it's like you got to negotiate that. But when you do it like you did, it's more time effective, right? So I always recommend for people, especially if they're tight on time, do this first. The other marketing methods of like cold calling, texting, if you build out a team or eventually, you have a bunch of time, whatever, you can do those. But if you're trying to be efficient with your time, you want to do this because you're going to have less conversations, but they're higher quality, right? So let me ask you this. You've done one deal now. Okay, what are your plans for the future? Like where would you like to be in, say, 12 months?
Well, now I got excited.
Yeah.
So there is another reason why I'm trying to do this. The company that I work for, I've been lucky enough to work from
Mm.
home,
Mm-hmm.
but they are now trying to get people to go back to the office, and with
Really?
my son,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. So
Mm.
if I continue going this pattern, I think I'm gonna have the flexibility
Yeah.
of taking care of my son, and not have to be all day in an office while I don't know what's happening
Sure.
with him. And that's my
Yeah.
personal situation. Many other
Mm.
people, they have other places, but my thing is I don't have anybody to watch him, so I'd rather be with him
Yeah.
myself. So my goal is right now, actually this morning, I was going through my next list of
Nice.
deals. I'm getting my list together. I'm going to send another mail.
Okay.
Obviously, I want to build up, you know, the company and
Yes.
keep going with this. So from the money that I got from the deal, I'm
Yep.
setting up to send my next mailing
Yep.
campaign, and I'm going to continue doing it. And maybe I do another one, like I don't have to wait now until I get the next deal to do the other campaign. Maybe I can
Correct.
spend more time and start kind of, working more towards it. But this is definitely, I think that this has potential, to be
Yeah.
honest. So I
Well,
can
yeah.
see, yeah, I see the potential, and I think I'm going to continue doing as many campaigns as I can.
Sure. I mean, you crushed it on the first one. That was good, right? The thing that's important is this, like you're doing the right thing, which is like you're taking the money you made and you're reinvesting into the business, right? Because if you don't mail, you get no deals,
Right.
right? Like it's called a direct response business. So if you stop marketing, the business stops. So you always have to keep marketing. And here's the thing, is like the first deal, the goal is not to make you a ton of money. We're like, oh my God, I'm rich. It's to teach you what to do, to give you the proof of concept, and then to give you the money to reinvest into the business. Because now, let's say you start sending out more mailers. Maybe you go to 8,000 a month, then 10, eventually 15, 20. You have all these deals piling up, and like that's where you like really start to make a lot of money, a lot of deals, right? So you did the first campaign. I'm curious, like, what is your thought on the second campaign? Are you going to try and do anything different than the first one, or like, what are you thinking through your head?
Well, so definitely I went back and I watched all the material that you
Okay.
had shared with me. So I went back and I read all the material. I think I feel more prepared. I
Okay.
know probably I'm trying to learn more on how to create my offers. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna review those, because I think probably the first campaign couple of the counties, maybe I did an offer too high. So now I'm learning from what I did on the first campaign. I think I made a mistake. I did not follow the process in one of your instructions.
Okay, what was that?
And it was something so simple, but I want to do it this time, and I think it's just use the double window envelope.
Yeah.
Because it shows more presence of the company. So, and
Yep.
for those that are listening that don't understand, you will when you get into a process and you see what.
Yeah.
Just follow the process. It's very important. So I'm gonna probably change that. I'm gonna do it that way. Then the other thing is, I think that I'm more confident now to talk to leads. I have never done this before, and I mean, Max, I call you so many times freaking out, Max, what am I going to do?
Okay.
And I was like, now I can see how I can control my emotions. Now I know how I can talk to them. One other thing is the negotiation part. I'm becoming better to that as well. Again, I had no experience on this area whatsoever. So I learned a lot from this first campaign. And I think I'm going to put that towards my second or third campaign. So definitely learn. I definitely learn.
100%. Yeah, something I'm curious about is this. So you came in and, you weren't very comfortable with the idea of like talking to people and doing the sales stuff. And that's something that we talk a lot about. Like that's my bread and butter. That's my background. What do you feel, because we talked about a lot of different things, but through like our conversations, what do you think is like the biggest thing that like you took away that's going to help you in the future?
I think from how do I say this? It's the fact that when I started doing this, I thought the idea of me I'm actually helping others was hard to process. When I was talking to people, I always felt like, ooch, I'm going to take advantage of them. I always felt like I was taking advantage of them. So the idea of, wait, after I talked to the buyer this time, he was so excited. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm actually helping them. And it's okay if I talk to 10 people and 9 of them say no. Maybe this is not the type of help that they need. Maybe they need some other different type of help. So for me to just understand that all those few ones that I can go and help them out, I'm actually helping them out.
Yes.
That's the part that I need to understand. I think that I need to put more in me. It was always this feeling like, how do I get them to sign? How do I get them to sell me? What am I going to say? I wanted to please them, so cool. They just sign. And then I understood, why am I doing this? I don't have to please them. I'm helping them. And if they say no, I was not meant to help them. Let's go to the next one. I'm going to help the next one. And I learned that with this person. He is so happy, and I'm so happy he's happy. I think that's one thing that I need to change, kind of change my gears to understand that part.
That's probably
it was hard, but...
Look, what you said is probably the biggest and most important thing, okay? Because what a lot of people do, especially when they're new, like you got to think about it. You come in, you spend money on mail. It's like you want to make sure you get a return, all these types of things. So usually we come in and we're worried like, oh, I got to get the deal. Like I need it. So it's really self-centered. It's about you, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to get deals from that place because you're not really thinking about the other person, okay? Right. But when you shift it and you realize like, hey, I'm actually genuinely helping this person. Like you're giving them money. Like they're getting money for their land. So you're providing a benefit, right? It'd be kind of like, I don't know, let's say you bake some cookies for your neighborhood and you knock on your neighbor's door like, hey, you want some cookies? Like you wouldn't be trying to sell. You'd be like, I make cookies. And if someone doesn't want it, you'd be like, hey, no worries, right? It's the same thing here. And this is the most important thing is that like, we're not trying to deceive the sellers or hide the fact that we are people who buy and sell land, we make money, right? We're not telling sellers, oh yeah, we're giving you top dollar for your land. Like they know that they're not getting that. What we provide to them is a service, right? And I always like to use the analogy of trading a car at a car dealership. When you trade your car, you know you're not getting as much money as you can. Because if you wanted the most amount of money, well, you would try and sell it yourself on like Facebook or something, right? But the reason you sell it to the used car dealer where you know that they're going to take it and they literally flip it and they just make money is you're doing it for the convenience, for the speed of knowing that you can walk in that same day, you get a check and you can walk away. It's the same thing with these sellers. The sellers that we work with, We don't say, oh yeah, man, I'm giving you the most amount of money. We're saying, hey, listen, I can give you a fair offer where you're going to make some money, but we can do this quickly in 30 days, 90 days, whatever it is. And so they choose to sell to us because it's a benefit to them to have the speed, right? But then when you get those sellers who are like, oh, I want market value, if you can't come to an agreement, it's like you can just refer them out to your realtor and be like, cool, I might not be able to help you, but this person, can, right? You always leave them in a better place than you found them. And then again, it's like if they don't want your help, it's like no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? So that's a very important note. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let me ask you this. So you're working on your next campaign. You're talking about pricing, stuff like that. What do you feel like moving forward are the things that like you're going to need help with as you start to like grow this business even more?
Well, I'm definitely gonna need somebody to help me to do the market analysis.
Okay.
The, again, I work,
Yep.
so it will be really good to somebody to help me put the list together, the
Yeah.
mailing list together. Review my offers. Again, just because I did one campaign doesn't mean I'm an expert. I have a lot to learn still.
Sure.
So I need to make sure that my offers actually are correct,
Yep.
that I'm not overpricing or the opposite.
Yes.
Then the other thing that I might need help with, this was my first deal and it was done with double closing as you explained.
Yep.
I have not done anything related with funders.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to have the opportunity, and I did try to get funders and
Yeah.
actually was very close to get
Yeah.
funders. So I would like to have the opportunity as well to deal with funders because
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is also a big potential there. And
Yep.
funders, for the people that don't know, it's just other person that actually fund your deals.
Correct.
So that part I haven't found out. And then again, like you mentioned also, I want to kind of put the money aside, and at some point, I mean, this is a big dream, but
Sure.
at some point I would like to be able to finance my own deals, So
Yeah.
it's like a long-term goal what I have going on.
Yeah.
Maybe I might need somebody to help me with the marketing, and I think the secret, I mean, is in how many letters you say, how many campaigns and letters, how many letters you mail to get the response that you're looking for. So
Yeah.
that's the main thing there. Yeah.
100%. And so here's what I would tell you, a few important things. If you can do a double close, which is what most people do on the deals, because like we can get deals that are, a bit higher price, but we get more deals, right? You could 100% do a regular flip where you get JV funding, right? Like it's way easier to be honest. So if someone has a deal where like they can get it funded, I'm always like, get it funded. If not, do the double closes. Now, for you, eventually, not yet, but maybe when you get to like 10,000 mailers a month, that would be the time to look into hiring like a VA, right?
Yeah.
So someone who can scrub a list, who can do the pricing. You still want to check to make sure it's accurate. Now, someone like that, you pay them about $4 or $5 an hour. They probably work 20 hours a week, right? So like it's not a super expensive position. It's going to be less than $1,000 a month, but that's for you to think in the future. Okay, maybe I get that person,
Yeah.
right? The thing is, before you hire them, you want to be totally like rock confident and like, okay, I know I'm very good at pricing because you have to check their stuff, right? And here's what I would tell you on the next campaign. This is a big mistake people make, is that, so they find an area that works, right? So you have one area in North Carolina, I'm not going to say it, but a certain county that like did really well, right? And then you have some in Tennessee where you got a lot of stuff under contract and waiting for those to sell. What people do is they find an area that works and then they start trying to find new areas. Ideally, what you want to do is you want to keep working in that area and expand from there. So what you should do is you want to remail the place that went well, right? That place in North Carolina, you absolutely want to just re-hit them with the same pricing because it worked, okay? And then what you'd want to do is you can also go up or down in acre ranges. So you mailed the 5 to 10 acre range, right?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
So what you can do to get more juice out of that area is you could mail the 2 to 5 now. You could mail the 10 to 20, right? You can mail the 20 to 40. As long as the prices are, in sync. If the prices get too expensive, then maybe don't. But here's what you have to understand is that not every county is the same. So like there's some counties where you're going to get a lot more responses and deals, and there's some that you won't. And so when you find the ones that work, like it's like finding a good fishing spot. You want to stay there as much as you can, right? And then once you kind of do that and you exhaust it, you hit the markets around it. So usually, not always, but usually if you find one county that's good, the counties that are also going to be good in that state are usually next to it, right? Yeah. Above, below, left, right. So like if you're looking at North Carolina and you're looking at a county in the south, like instead of trying to research the entire state again and go all the way up, out west to the top, why not go look at the county that's adjacent to the one that you just did? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing is trying to find, you need to find the right team to work with, because I do have a county that actually got a lot of answers, but unfortunately I haven't had the response from the realtor that I
Yep.
was hoping. So
Yeah.
I need to do a research on that. That's something that definitely I need to improve.
That's the other point that I want to make too, is that when you find an area that works, right? So the area in North Carolina, used one of the realtors that we've used, Kaylin
Oh, she
Hawkins,
was,
right?
yeah.
She's a killer,
She's
right?
awesome.
She's
Yeah,
super good.
I
I
was
love her.
asking, can you just move with me as I move?
She's great. And
She's
so
great, yeah.
she works most of like the southern area of North Carolina. She doesn't work the whole state, unfortunately. And then for your deal, who'd you use the title company? Was it Taylor Law Firm or was it someone else?
It was actually a lawyer in for this deal.
Yeah, you didn't use Taylor Law Firm. You used
No, I
the
used
buyer's one,
the
right?
Sterling, the buyer lawyer. Yeah, they did
Sterling. Okay.
both. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's fine. Well, the point is this: is that once you find a good like team, like you've got good realtors, you got good title companies, it's like you really want to try and stay in those areas that they service as much, because then you don't have to do the process of like finding a new realtor, right?
Yeah.
And there's just some areas of the country where like that are super rural, like that area in Tennessee. It's like I'll be frank with you. It's like there might be some other realtors there, but like he's kind of like the best you're probably gonna get in that area. And like that's the trade-off you have to make. Is like sometimes you go to these super rural areas, they don't have a lot of people. So again, when you find the areas where you do well, you're getting good responses, you're getting deals, you have a good realtor, a good title company, it's like try and stay in that area because it's way easier. All you have to do is find a deal, and then you say, oh, I already have my realtor. You text them, they go out there, right? You don't need to do
Yeah.
that process of finding new stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What would you say outside of kind of the mail stuff or any other like big questions or stuff that you feel like you need help with as you're kind of moving forward and scaling?
Sorry, I've been a little sick. That's
Oh, you're good.
not so much. I think, um, I mean, most of it was just me and my lack of experience.
Sure.
Yeah, like another thing that killed me a lot was just thinking that I was investing money, and at some points, I mean, I'm gonna be totally honest here.
Sure.
I was couple times I was going to give up. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I can do this, but it's because I need, maybe because of my background and I'm used to train people. I sit with people and I kind of, they can call me at any time. So, but this is something that you need to learn on your own. So when sometimes
Yep.
I felt a little lost myself, and in the frustration that, okay, the next month is coming, all these bills are going to come out of my bank account. It
Yeah.
made me nervous. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking to a person that I don't have any financial support from anybody, and I was investing this money into something that at that point I really wanted to work, but
Sure.
I was totally lost. So one of the things that's probably kind of the biggest struggle. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this because I was afraid of failing, right? So I said, no, if I fail, this is going to be me. I'm going to cry and whatever. But if not, okay, I'm going to be happy with myself, right? So going through that process, and I think everybody that doesn't have a background in this more probably is going to go through them. I will just say there are going to be those times, but you need to be consistent. So I used to go and let's say, I'm gonna give up, and then I said, are you kidding me? No, you're not gonna give up. I mean, you need to listen to Max. You need to follow the process. Everything is gonna be okay, and then you start seeing the results, and like, okay, see, I'm so glad I didn't give. I'm so glad I didn't listen to myself. Because your mind can play a lot of games on yourself. So that part, I'm glad that part is kind of over with. But in terms of the process itself, so it was more like a personal challenge to make certain decisions and take some steps moving forward. And actually, when I was in those, and I haven't told you this, but when I was in those moments of discouragement, I remember our first conversation over the phone. And I picture you being the one talking to my prospect, my lead. And I remember the way you talked to me, and I tried to apply. And this, I don't know if people do this, but and I tried to be you when I was talking to them. And through that process, I was kind of learning. Okay, this is how Max will answer. So I use you in my subconscious to get rid of all those. All those times. And then also I'm like, no, this has to work. So it's just being persistent, believe in yourself, believe in the process, and don't give up.
Yeah.
You know, that part was kind of the hardest part for me,
Yeah.
to be honest. I also, the first time that I started looking at the materials, you speak fast.
I do. Very fast.
And I am Latina. I am a Spanish speaker, so I had to rewind and try to understand. And this morning, and I will look at all the material at the beginning. This morning I went through everything, and everything makes sense to me now. I'm like, why I didn't get this before? Because I had to go through the process. So now I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. So reviewing all the material again is kind of, oh, okay, now I know. I think it's gonna be better.
I gotta say something really important because like what you said, I'm glad that you shared that and you're like open. Like you're not alone. Like a lot of people feel that. And the truth is it happens at different stages. When people first start something out, it's really common, like really, really common that they start something out and it's like they don't, immediately make money and they're like, oh shit, maybe this isn't for me or I can't do this. They get in their head and, like their emotions, they get the best of them. And so I'm not telling you to ignore your feelings. You should never ignore them, but you have to understand that like there's two parts of you at work, right? There's a part of you that's done what you've always done, which has gotten the results you've gotten, right? But you obviously wanted something different. So there's a future version of you that's already gotten the things you want. And that version of you does things fundamentally different than the version of you right now. And when you're in those moments where you're not sure, is this going to work, whatever, you have to kind of look to your future self for support. And you have to ask, okay, there's a version of me a year from now that's where I want to be. What would that version do right now? Because what's happening in your mind when you're like get all emotional is like your emotions hijack you thinking rationally. Or like if you just sit down rationally, you're like, you know what, like I'll be fine. I have a job. I'm okay. This will work. Like I can do it if I follow the process. And then you can think more clear-headed and you make higher quality decisions, right? And again, it's like it's hard because you've never done it and you don't know. Like you start to like, how do I know this is going to work? It's like, well, if you just follow the process, it works. And so instead of focusing on like this, like, oh, is it going to work? It's like just focus on the one step that's in front of you. What can I do today to be in control of that? And I saw you go through those waves, and to be honest, like it was very cool to see you go full cycle. And it's okay. It's totally normal.
Like, seriously, I know what you mean.
It's so normal for when people are really starting that like first business is they're going to go through those waves of like, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? But if you can see the process through and you just stay committed, like you'll make it. You'll make it. It's just you have to have that longer term commitment to something. And like you saw, it's like you did it, right? And it wasn't perfect. There was challenges, but like you made it through. You leaned on me. Like I was there a lot. You asked me a lot of questions. That was my job, right?
Yeah.
So you should be very proud of yourself because it's like, again, after you've done that first deal, it's like, oh, I did my first deal. It's like, okay, I can do more now. It's like you got it out of the way. Does that make sense?
No, now I know it works. Now I want to go for it. Like, yes, let's go. Let's do the next
100%.
campaign. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Here, I'm going to